welcome to the Musician Secrets podcast. I'm so excited to have you on here.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Like, I'm British, so I'm from the UK, but I'm Indian. That's my heritage. And I think my style is kind of like an alternative rock sort of style. I think this year I've really like found my own sound as a solo artist, which is great, through like producing and writing myself and stuff. So it's been really cool and like really empowering to do all that myself. So
wow. So you did all of it, like the writing, the producing. Did you have like a team, or did you do it like on your own, or did you get like some help, or what did that look like?
So the way I did the track was I wrote it myself just on guitar, and the vocals and the lyrics and everything, and then I recorded. I've got like a nice Vox amp. I don't know if I can see you're using a Marshall on the back. That is a beautiful amp.
Yes.
But yeah, I bought this. Actually, I'll show you.
Yeah.
This amp here.
Oh, nice.
And it's really great because you can plug it directly into your computer.
Oh,
so
right.
I don't have to like get an extra mic to record. It just goes straight into the computer, which is great. So I kind of wrote everything, recorded all the guitars and the vocals through Logic, just in this room here.
Yeah, same.
And then because Logic has got this great like drummer feature.
Yes,
I don't know.
yes. I use it all the time because I'm not a drummer and I have no idea.
But it's so great for like just even keeping in time, because I find it really hard to keep in time to just a metronome, whereas if it's like a drum beat, like I find it so much easier and I get way more into it. And so I put this you can kind of manipulate the drum and choose a drummer and like the whole sound. So I added this drummer track, and then I basically sent it to a real drummer, a human being drummer. And I was kind of like, this is the sort of vibe that I'm going for. Can you record something? And I basically found this guy on Fiverr. Do you know that website?
Yeah, it's a good one. I use it a lot for like logo design and like artwork and stuff. Like,
oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So I just found this really great drummer on there, and he recorded like in one take. He just did this amazing take for me, and I was just like, this is, when you like you just know, and you're like, this is right, this is really perfect. He just got the whole vibe of the track, and then I sent it off for remote mixing. So this has been like very much a lockdown project, in the sense that I literally haven't left my house to make this.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it was all like everything was recorded either in this room or by the drummer in France. And then I sent it all off to a mixing engineer to remote mix, and I kind of gave, we worked together on it, and I gave my feedback and whatever, and then a mastering engineer then mastered it, and that was it. So yeah, I pretty much produced the track, which was really cool. And it made me, I think 2020 and doing it this way has made me realize what's possible.
Yes.
When you really, when you don't have the option of going to a studio or whatever, like, you can do it yourself. that is what I've realized. So it was a really great process, the whole writing and production side of it, because it was really empowering for me. It made me realize what I could do, and now I know for like the future tracks how I want to do it, and I want to continue like doing it in this way, because I have such a this is my sound, and I can really dictate how I want it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it was a really cool track to start on, and I'm really happy with it.
Well, I mean, you totally can be, because it's just so, I have so much more respect for the track now, knowing that, you know, you did it all on your own, or like most of it, or kind of, you know, got help from the places that you needed to. But, you know, I think it's just so fascinating, because I think a lot of musicians or songwriters are out there that are just starting out that think they need this fancy equipment and have to record it in the studio, and it needs to cost a ton of money to make. But you know, you're living proof that that's not the case.
Like this year, like I've heard of so many artists doing that. I know like Charlie XCX made her album in her house at the beginning of lockdown. Like Paloma Faith has been recording stuff herself. So I think musicians have really realized, like, you know, there's so many resources on the internet that teach you how to do things. You know, I'm quite fortunate that I did, like, my degree was in like kind of the sound side of music, so I've always known how to record, but like I've never kind of done it in this way where I did it all in my house, and worked with people remotely, like, and you know, the mixing engineer and the drummer. So yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. I think that's awesome. I mean, that's something that I've also learned in like year 2020 is like, why wait? Like, why should I just let everyone dictate what I can and cannot do? And I'm like, you know what? I may not be able to gig right now or have live performance and stuff like that, but you know, you can write songs and produce them yourself and learn how to produce or learn how to write songs. Like, now's the time, instead of like sitting around and watching TV all day, you know, you can use, like, you've proven that you can still be productive and make the best out of your situation.
I think a lot of it is, like, I know I certainly felt a bit of a lack of confidence of like, how am I going to do this? Because my whole background has always been like, I've been in bands like my whole life. Like my first band was like when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
And all of a sudden I was in, you know, I've always wanted to do something solo myself. And I just was like, how am I going to do this? Like, you know, I want to do rock music. How am I going to do rock music myself without, you know, being in a band? And then 2020 sort of forced me to find a way. And then I found out, like, oh, you know, there's loads of session musicians at the moment who have all this recording equipment and want to, you know, be on your track or whatever.
And have all the time right now.
Yeah, exactly. When they're not, you know, they're unfortunately not able to tour and stuff. So you know, it is possible. But I think a lot of it was like there being a slight lack of confidence with that.
I hear that a lot. Like, that's kind of a common thread throughout the musicians I've interviewed so far. And I think you kind of grow into it also. So that's, pretty cool. So what would you say? So what is the equipment, obviously, that you're using to do all of that? So you said you're using Logic 10, which I use too. Then I see the Rode mic. I think I have the exact same one. So for people that want to be like you and start making and producing their own songs, what would you tell them to use?
This is the Rode, I think it's like NT1A.
Yeah. So 1A or something. I have the exact same one. I think it's the most common one because it's so multifunctional. I record my guitar with it, vocals.
That's right, and it's got, I think it came with this, like,
it comes with the pop shield.
It came with this little mount here. So it's great. Like, it was a great kit.
And I think it's a good price for what you get. Like, you can get so expensive. Like, you can spend so much money on a mic. So I've from experience, I can say it's a really good microphone. I use it all the time.
Definitely. Yeah, I've had it for, you know, it's funny, I've had it for quite a few years, and like, it's only this year that I've really started using it, because this is what I mean. Like, I got this as a birthday present when I was like 22. I'm 28 now. And this is how long I've been meaning to start something on my own. And I just think I just didn't think I could do it, or I didn't know how to do it. And then 2020 kind of forced me It's like, you can't be in a band right now because like how?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so that's a great mic, and then I use this
Interface.
I've got a Scarlett Focusrite.
Okay, that's the most common one. Yeah.
i6, which is good because it's got 2 inputs as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wasn't
use XLR, and you can put your
jack.
Yeah, your jack lead in there. So
yeah. So you can use either.
Everything for guitar. So for everyone that doesn't know, this is a jack for the guitar, and XLR is for your vocals.
Yeah. So I used that for recording the vocals. So that just plugs straight into my laptop.
Yep.
And then I used that Vox amp that I showed earlier to record all of the guitars. And I just kind of layered different sounds on top of each other as the track went on, which was really fun actually, because I think I've always sort of thought, oh, I'm not that good of a guitarist or whatever. It's just that lack of confidence thing. And I did this really good, I don't know if you've heard of Masterclass.
Yes. It has like all these famous people in there.
Yeah. So I got a membership because there was a few different like courses I wanted to do.
I wanted to get Alicia Keys. That's the one I'm thinking about getting.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the Tom Morello masterclass, and it was so good, and it just broke down like everything, like soloing and things like that I've always been too intimidated by, and I've always kind of thought, oh, I'm not good enough to do solos. Like he broke it down in a way that it's never been explained to me before, in a really like, you know, understandable, easy way to get, and it just improved my guitar playing like tenfold.
Wow.
And increased my confidence. So if anyone, you know, wants to do that course, I would definitely recommend it. So yeah, I did. So this year I've kind of been like, I've been writing lots, because I'm sure a lot of, you know, songwriters out there have been doing this year, and I've been playing guitar lots and like improving. And then I was like, right, I'm going to write this. I need to write a really good song, and I want to release it. And I think for a first release, I put quite a lot of pressure on it. Like I didn't want it to be about like a boy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, no, this first song is going to be like a self-empowerment anthem of me starting again, and, you know, starting a new journey. And so this song kind of just happened here. Like I was just playing, and I always tend to start with like guitar chords, and then melodies kind of just come to me, and then the lyrics afterwards for me. And that's usually how I write. So yeah, that's kind of been the journey of this song and my journey this year.
That's really cool. Like, because like if you sum it up, basically all you need is a decent microphone, an amp, that's even optional. Like if you, unless you know, only if you're like recording electric guitar or something like that.
I mean, you could even like record your guitar through the interface as well if you've got 2 inputs. So you know, there's plenty of effects that you can get within a digital audio workstation that you could use for your guitar as well.
Totally. Like it's really like, what, again, like I always thought you had to have this fancy little like studio, but that's not the case. Like all you need is like your laptop, Logic 10 or Ableton Live or whatever program you're using, and then really just, you know, your microphone and some jack leads and XLR cable for your vocals. That's it. Like, you know, if you want, like, you can even use your headphones if you don't want to get speakers or something. Like, and I got like decent speakers for like, I don't know, 120 euros, so that's like 100 pounds.
Okay.
Like you can do like a lot with a very low budget. And like really, if you need help or stuff, you can go get it. Like put in, like you said, like the drum, what is it called? The drum, the drummer track.
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool because it's put in. You can convert it to MIDI. So
Yeah.
you can then go and like manipulate it to what you want it to sound, and then that was like a good idea to then bounce it and send it to a drummer and be like,
hey. I had such a specific thing in my head about how I wanted it to sound, so I thought, you know, how am I gonna explain this to a drummer on the internet? Like,
so I'm not a drummer.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, the best way, and so that person also gets the vibe of the song and the kind of thing to do. Like, I didn't expect him to follow that drum track to a T. I wanted him to add some, you know, human element and add his own kind of flair to it. But I thought it's a good idea just to have that in place, so that as well, you know, like what style you're going for, and that you have control over that, if that makes sense.
No, completely makes sense. So how did you find, because you said you kind of had to like find your sound and kind of figure out what you wanted that to, you know, sound overall. How did that journey look like? How do you find your sound?
I think it's funny, I've been writing for so many years, like literally since, I think I wrote my first song when I was like 8 or something.
Oh, wow. It's even younger than I was. I started when I was like 12.
I think I remember it was inspired by Steps. Do you remember the band Steps? I don't know if they were big where you were. They were like this pop band that I really liked as a child. But I've been writing for years, and most of the songs that like I have written and that have been recorded have been like in a band kind of setting. So I'm quite good at coming up with things quite quickly for that reason, because when you're in a rehearsal room with a band and you're writing a song, you're paying like £10 an hour for this rehearsal room. You better, you know, you've got to get on with it.
You don't have time to waste.
Exactly. I think doing bands and doing all that has made me quite good at like coming up with things quite quickly, and just having the confidence to go with it, because you just kind of have to. So I've been writing for a long time, and then I started focusing on writing my own things this year. Like really focusing. I've been writing my own things for a long time, but I really wanted to release something this year. And I was writing lots about different things, about lockdown and whatever. And then I started like recording things and going into Logic and actually trying to figure out like, how would this sound when recorded? How do I want it to feel, rather than just sitting there with my acoustic writing stuff. And I think that's when I really figured out my sound, when I started playing with the amp and playing with different settings. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. How about if I do this and change it here and whatever? And it's literally been experimentation, trying different things and also recording them to hear them back yourself.
That's good.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool, because I do feel like now, like I've finally found, like I feel like I'm writing the best stuff I've ever written in my life. But that has been a progression of so many years of writing on my own, and then writing in like a band setting and all different things. So it's just nice to feel like, yes, that, you know, this is my favorite thing I've ever made, and like I've found who I am as an artist. But I don't think it's something. I think it's like a bit of a journey for everyone when you really start liking what you make. Because I think we're all our biggest critics, aren't we? We all kind of think, oh, is this good enough? And like for me, one of the things I always do is I write something, I really like it, and I go, oh no, this sounds like something else, I'm sure. And I go into like Soundhound and I sing it into it, because I'm like, I think I've stolen this. And like, do you know what I mean? Like, there are so many
trouble are gonna charge me royalties.
Exactly. But like, the thing is, half the time you haven't stolen anything, you know. And I sometimes send it to one of my friends and I'm like, does this sound like anything to you? Like, does this sound like another song? And she's like, no, what are you talking about?
You're overreacting, get over yourself.
Yeah, but I think I've sort of gotten over that a little bit, but that was a big thing for me earlier this year. Like, whenever I'd write anything, I'd be so paranoid that I had just taken it from someone else, because there might have been like one note that was similar. And it's like, no, you know, it's so hard now to write anything that's purely original anyway, because music has just been a thing for, you know, too long for you to be able to create anything that's, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. Like, this is something that, you know, I talk a lot about in the podcast, because it's so important that people know. I always say there is no such thing as an original thought. You know, you're inspired by something else. Like, you can't actually play something you've never really heard before, and even if you do decide to do it differently, it comes from something you've already known. So it's like saying like, oh, I want to take out the time aspect, so I don't want to have any time in it, so it's just like fluid and but not. It came from the idea that there was time before. So, you know, that's why it kind of takes off that pressure where you're like, it have to be like completely 100% original and has never had been heard before. Like, no, like it comes out of a different genre. Like, it comes, that's why we have so many different genres, is because they took an original genre and then kind of took a little bit of something of that and then put something new in it. So I always say like, copy and paste is not okay. Like, give people credit for what they do, but there's nothing wrong with, you know, being inspired by something.
No, because we all are all the time. And I think what makes a song original anyway is what you, like, your voice or your, you know, the way you play or whatever. That's your kind of, you know, fingerprint on it. So that won't sound like anyone else. Like, your individual voice will not sound like anybody else's. So but that was a big thing for me. Like, genuinely, whenever I wrote anything, like in the first 6 months of this year, it would be like, oh no, have I taken it from someone else? I just had this, like, I had this overwhelming paranoia, and I don't know why I did. And it, like, the thing that they didn't sound like anything else. Do you know what I mean? They didn't sound like what I thought they sounded like. It might have just been that one chord was like the same, but then most songs are like 4 chords anyway. So
well, there is no copyright on a chord progression. I think a lot of people don't know that. Like, the first song that I wrote was literally the chord progression I learned from a song before. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of the emotion that I like these chords. And then I completely wrote something different with that. I used the exact same chords, but if you change the melody and put your own spin on it, that's totally fine. And people are like, no, I have to come up with something completely, like, no. Like, if you can use the same 4 chords and you can play hundreds of songs.
Yeah. There's that famous, like, YouTube video, isn't there, of like some comedian or something where
these 2 guys
100 different songs over the same 4 chords, because that is what, you know, that is commercial music at the moment, is like those 4 chords, and then it's what you do on top of that that's original and creative.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's a common I think that would be like my worst nightmare, would be like, oh, I came up with this awesome song, you're putting all this time and energy in promoting it, and then at the end people are like, well, it sounds like whatever, and you're like, no. Like,
it's funny, there was a case like a couple of years, I think it was Sam Smith, Stay With Me, that song, and like, apparently, you know, Tom Petty, he did a song called Won't Back Down, and like, I would never have thought that the 2 songs sounded similar at all, but I think he did, like, Tom Petty approached Sam Smith's team and was like, you've, you know, taken this melody, and they were like, we are so sorry, I think. And so they've given Tom Petty, well, Tom Petty is no longer with us, I don't think.
Uh-huh.
He passed away a couple of years, but they gave him like a songwriting share, I think, or something, because they had like accidentally taken like the main melody from that song. But I didn't even hear the two sounding the same until I heard about that case, and then I was like, oh yeah, they are really similar, but the whole vibes of the songs are so different that it just didn't flag. And can you imagine how many people in Sam Smith's team heard that song prior to it being released, and no one went, oh wait, that sounds like Tom Petty.
Yeah, I think that's every musician's like worst nightmare is like, oh, it kind of sounds like, because it's kind of, you're just hearing all these influences, and it's sometimes even subconsciously happening in your songwriting, right? So it's not like on purpose most of the time that you're like, oh, I'm gonna steal this melody, right? And make its own thing. But with your song, what I thought was so interesting, like one thing, obviously, like the chorus, like the line, it's so catchy. Like,
oh, thanks.
It's just, I love simplicity because it's the hardest thing to do, but the most effective if you get it right.
Yeah.
And you did exactly that in the chorus.
Oh, thanks.
And it was, I don't know, it's just stuck in my head. And the second thing is like the guitar part, the like, again, so simple, but it's so effective. And they work together really well.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, is there a certain aspect where it's like, where you say like it's all like inspired and just like on the fly, or would you say, are there some elements where you say, oh, okay, you know, where there's like music theory in there where you're like, oh, this would go really well with that, or is there a balance?
I mean, like I'm terrible at music theory. Like I've not learnt guitar in that traditional way, and I haven't learnt singing in that traditional way either. So there's not, like, I never sit down and write a song and like think about it from a theory perspective. It's very much, I think that guitar part I came up with in my head as a little melody, and then I figured out how to play it on the guitar. And I think that's kind of what I do a lot. I think like the tunes come up in my head and I'm like, right, how do I transfer this to guitar? So that's how that came about.
That's cool. Like, that's cool. Does that always, do you have like, would you say like you have like a specific writing style, or does it like change with every song, or does it usually like happen when you sit down and just be like, force yourself to be like, okay, I'm writing something?
Sometimes, like that one came about because I sat down and I said I want to write something.
Okay.
But sometimes like melodies will pop into my head when I'm just doing the most like mindless things, like washing the dishes, or I'm in the shower and like suddenly something really good will just come in there and I'm like, oh, that's nice. I better get out the shower and record this into my phone now. But like I think there is something, like I did another, I'm going back to masterclass, that thing I did, but I did this like business masterclass with the woman who started Spanx, Sarah Blakey.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She talks
She's
about
really
failure
cool.
a lot, but in like a positive way. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's very cool, and she talked about like how, you know, about ideas, and sometimes you have to be doing something like really mindless, like an activity that takes no thought, and then something will pop up into your head. And I think sometimes it's a bit like that for me with songwriting. Like I'll just be like washing the dishes, and then because I'm doing something but I'm not thinking about what I'm doing, like all songs and melodies and lyrics will just sort of pop up.
That's very interesting. Yeah, and that, I think that makes a lot of sense, because then your mind is kind of free to to think.
Yeah.
And like, it's just, you know, I think if you're like forcing yourself and sitting down and be like, okay, you know, I need to write a song. I mean, it works too, but like, I don't know, that's just how I most of the time wake up like at 2 a.m. and write a song.
Yeah. Like dream a song and then you wake up, you've got to put it down somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you go through my voice demos on my phone, it's probably like, oh my gosh.
I've got too many to even look through now.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Do you like ever go back and like try to listen to what you recorded and you're like, what?
Yeah, I do sometimes. I remember last year I went through like pretty much all of them and I put like a little star on anything that I thought had like potential. But I don't think I've ever gone back and like done anything with those ideas, because I always, when I sit down and I'm like, oh, I'm going to write a song, it's usually something new that happens when I'm messing around on the guitar or whatever. But yeah, there are a lot of like unwritten songs in my phone, a lot. But yeah, I probably should go through them. Christmas would be a good time to do that, actually. Go through them all and see what's there.
Yeah, it's really cool because like sometimes I did that with a song. I wrote a song and I needed a bridge part, or I felt like it needed this really cool bridge and I couldn't come up with one to save my life. And I was flipping through, like, I have like this folder of songs that I started writing, just anything. And I'm just like, there was a song that I started writing. I usually start with the chorus because it's like, for me, the easiest to write. And I couldn't find anything else to go with it, like no verse or anything. It was just the chorus. And I'm like, oh, I could use this chorus that I was planning on. And I literally just puzzled it together to be the bridge of the song I was writing at the time. Yeah. So I thought it was really, because I never usually do that. I usually be like, okay. But, you know, that's why I like to kind of go through my phone and be like, ooh, maybe these two things that I haven't seen connected before now go together. Or
yes. Actually, I did do that on this song. I completely forgot. For the middle eight, it was something that a little melody that came into my head. I think I was washing up or something, and it just like popped in and I recorded it. And then I was like, oh, I need a middle eight part in this song. What shall I do? And then this just worked with the chord progression. That, yeah, I completely forgot that I did that for that.
But that's cool. I mean, that's a cool thing I think about songwriting is you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, whatever works. You know, there's so many different styles of songwriting and it's different with every song. Like there's no set way of doing things. Like it could be 2 a.m, it could be like I wrote one in the back of my physics homework once. Like literally I was like, you know, had this idea and I'm like, oh, so I just turned over the page and I just wrote it down. And
had a literal eureka moment there.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but you know, it's just so interesting. That's so fascinating for me about songwriting is like, you never know what's going to happen. You never know when inspiration is going to hit.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it can come at really unexpected times, or it can come when you're sat down actually with the intention of writing. And the great thing is that there's no right or wrong. You know, as long as you like it and it sounds good to you, great. Like I read some quote a little while ago. Do you know the Women's International Music Network? I think they're called. They're like the women on Instagram, and they post like quotes sometimes from artists. And I think it was, I've forgotten which artist. I think it might have been Kalani. Somebody said something about if you make something and you think it's really, really good, like guaranteed that there'll be like so many other people who really, really like it too. If you think something is tight, then somebody else is going to really like it. And I think that's quite a nice way of looking at it, because I think sometimes we can all be so obsessed with like, oh, I really like this, but what if nobody else likes this, or what if, what if, nobody cares about it and everyone hates it. But actually, if you like it, there's so many other people out there with a similar music taste to you that will also like it.
Yeah.
Not that you should really obsess about what people think too much about your songs, but I just think it's a nice way. It kind of changed my thinking a little bit. Like, I'm like, oh, I really like this. So yeah, there'll be someone else that likes this too.
That's cool. Like, you just switched it around. Like, instead of thinking, oh, I hope someone will like it, you're like, if I like it, then other people will like it too. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's what I say, is like, usually, if you can't please everyone, it's not possible. It's just not. There'll always be somebody that's going to be offended, that has a different opinion. Music is so objective. Either you like it or you don't. That's just how it is.
It's quite a scary thing to like put your own music out there, because it's literally you bearing your soul. And then you're then giving people the right to say whatever the hell they want about that. So it is quite like a nerve-wracking thing to put out there,
Especially if you're like a singer-songwriter, like you wrote it and it's your baby. It's like it's so personal. Usually it's you're writing out of experience or something that happened, or and then somebody being like, oh, what, like, that's not good, or that's stupid, or whatever. Like, that usually in the beginning, that got me really hard. Like, I took offense in the beginning. I gotta admit, it was really hard for me to take critique. Because it's just so personal, and you just feel not only under attack, you're kind of feeling hurt as well. You're like, oh well, I was just bearing my soul, and you just like took it and crushed it and stepped on it. And so how is there a way that you say like you can kind of let go or deal with things like that?
I think, do you know what, I've been on a real journey this year. Like, I started posting video covers on YouTube in like June, and it took me months and months of like courage to do that, genuinely, because I was like, oh god, I'm going to post it on my Instagram, and what if nobody cares, and what if people hate it? And I really freaked myself out about doing that. And then as soon as I did that and been on this whole journey, I think we all have a real fear of like internet trolls, right? Like this worry that but what posting covers on YouTube made me realize is that actually there's a lot of nice people on the internet too, and actually I think there's more nice people than there are trolls. And yes, there will be people who like potentially say negative things, but for that every one person there'll be like 10 people who are really behind you. And there's so many like really nice communities on the internet now, like there's great songwriter groups on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. So there's a lot of people that want you to do well and will support you on your journey. Yes, there'll be the occasional person who but one way when I was doing these YouTube videos, I remember I'm part of this Women of YouTube like Facebook group, and people get upset a lot about when they get a dislike on their video. And like one thing that I always think about is like, what's your favorite song ever in the world?
Oh my gosh.
I know that's a big question.
That's a
song that like you really love. It doesn't have to be your favorite one, but
on the top of my head, something Lenny Kravitz, Sister Mama, Sister Mama Wanna, or something. I love the bass in that.
Okay, song. There is a point to this. Right. So Lenny Kravitz.
Sister Mama what's it called?
Sister Mama Lover.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you think that's an incredible song, right? And you really love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, let's go to this song.
I love the bass. I'm a bass person. If I listen to a song, I listen to the lyrics and the bass.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the song that I imagine a lot of people love because it's Lenny Kravitz, right? But it still has 93 dislikes on YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You cannot please, like, you go to a Queen video, like Bohemian Rhapsody, exactly. That probably has like 3,000 dislikes on YouTube. Like, there's always going to be someone out there, because, like, I don't think I've ever sat and disliked a video on YouTube.
No.
Or I've never written, like, I've never felt compelled to write something mean to someone about something they've created. Like, why would you?
Exactly. I don't know. I don't understand, but
exactly. And it's obviously something internal within those people. Do you see what I mean? Like, once you start viewing it that way, it's like, who cares what a random keyboard warrior has to say about something you're doing? Because what are they doing?
Yeah. Exactly. That's a good mindset to have. Like, it says, like, fear kills more dreams than failure ever will.
Yeah. And like, I have really, I was terrified to post something on YouTube 6 months ago, but now, like, I'm releasing my own music.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of little steps. Like, I posted that, okay, so people have heard me singing on YouTube now. Okay, so that's okay, and that was fine. So how about, like, I write something myself and record it and see how that, do you see what I mean? Like, there's little steps of confidence. Once you do one thing and you realize, oh, that wasn't as bad. As, like,
I'm still alive. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, it's funny, I've been in bands and stuff and I've performed in front of lots of people, but I just had this real fear of putting something on YouTube because I was like, oh, it's going to be there forever, and people can directly say what they want about it.
Yeah.
So, and I think I have a feeling that a lot of people have that kind of mindset too, that fear of like, what will people say, what will people think, and actually 90% of people don't care. Like, you know what I mean? And then the people that do care, that's awesome, and then you'll find other people that care putting things out. So I think people just have this fear of, like, negative comments, and most of the time, like, it's not people, like, most people, if they don't like something, they just move on their lives. But yeah, fear is a big barrier, and it, like, you just have to do these little steps of things, and then you realize that thing that looks like a huge wall is actually not, and you can do it.
Wow, that's so fascinating. Like, I just love how your mindset has really pushed you to where you are. And I think that this is where I see, and me included, is that, fear really stops us from, what we really want to do. And that's, there are probably so many awesome songs that haven't been written just because we were scared to put it out there. And I think mindset is a huge thing as a musician. It's not having the talent or knowing how to do things. It's usually the biggest thing is fear. And it's so cool to see how you've just overcome that, or how you're handling it step by step. And it's awesome. It's so great. I'm so grateful that you've done that and overcome that. And now hopefully other musicians and songwriters can take inspiration from that, because it should be, we take it very hard. I think, like you said in the beginning, like, we are our hardest critics. And I think we are way tougher on ourselves than other people are. And I think mindset is a huge thing. Like it doesn't matter who I talk to, that theme just always comes up of like that like mental game that we play all day long. It's like this is awesome, I'm not good enough, like what like this is great, and then no, what if other people don't like it, and what if I, it's just like this constant up and down and roller coaster, and
that will always happen. That will continue to happen within everybody, because like it's something you care about and you want it to go well and whatever. But yeah, fear is like the biggest. It has been the biggest barrier for me. And like, I'm just really glad that I just went, screw it, I'm going to do it this year. I think I really wanted to make something in 2020. So like, I gave myself that deadline. I was like, no, I have to release something this year. And I pushed myself to do that. And like, I think, just don't let fear stop you. There's so many amazing resources on the internet to learn anything. Like, I went on this great website called Skillshare, and there was some great like tutorials on Logic on that website. So I spent a couple of days just figuring out different things, how to use the drummer track, like even like little things I just never knew how to do, and I was doing them a really long way round. But actually I did this course, and then I was like, oh, like I want to release a single, but we're in a pandemic and I can't get a photographer. Okay, I'll learn how to take my own photos. Like, do you know what I mean? And so I just did another course on like photography. And I think people this year have just learned to become like really resourceful, because like, and just anything is possible. Like, as long as you have connection to the internet, you can learn how to do anything. And I think particularly like with women, sometimes we feel like, oh, we can't be a producer, or like, or maybe I'm not. There's this kind of, I think, mindset that we've all just had for a long time. But once you start breaking these things down, like actually Paloma Faith really said it well when I think she was talking to Jonathan Ross, and she was talking about how she was recording from home, and she was like, oh yeah, like I realized that literally, all engineers do when I go in to record is press a button, and they make it look so complicated, and I'm just doing it from home myself now. And I love that, like it just breaking it down. Like, if you obviously it's not just pressing a button, there's different things you have to learn, but you can learn it. There's no like, oh, only a producer who's established can do that. No, like you can do it yourself too. There's so much resource now to learn. Just do it. And then you are more in control of what you're doing. And when you go, like I remember when I was doing gigs with my old band, they'd always, sometimes sound engineers like were a little bit funny, because I was in an all-female band, and usually the sound engineer is male, and they think they know everything, and they think I don't understand anything. And I'd always be like, oh, can you turn me up please, because no one can hear me, I can't hear me, the band can't hear me. No, you're just gonna have to sing louder, I can't turn you up anymore. And I'm just like, I know that's not true. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's your job to do that, but because I'm asking you to do it, but you don't realize that I do have a knowledge on these things. You're just telling me because I'm a girl, and you're telling me just to sing louder because you can't be bothered to do your job. So it's always great to have that, like a bit of knowledge, so that people don't, do you know what I mean? Like people don't.
I think they kind of walk all over you. That's kind of what I feel like sometimes. It's like, oh, because I'm a girl and I play guitar and I know how to like use, I'm good enough to like at least record a demo and then give it to a producer and be like, this is what I want, this is what I want to sound like. Because I went to England, Birmingham to study popular music performance. So I learned all the music theory, I learned the simple producing, and like I know a little bit of everything, so I can at least tell whoever's in charge to tell them what I want and what I don't want. And I think it is, you know, kind of true, at least that's how I felt too, is, you know, they just kind of walk all over you if you're not taking charge. You're like, you know what, I know better, this is why, and I want this and this and this. I think they just don't take you seriously.
And you have, like, when, you know, as an artist, you have that right to ask for what you want, especially if you're on a stage or you're in a studio or whatever. And, you know, I remember one night I just went with it and I ended up absolutely wrecking my voice because I was literally screaming into a microphone because this engineer was not doing his job. And that's not okay.
Yeah.
You know, you have to, it's very hard, it's very intimidating, like, oh, can you turn me up a bit please, like, you know, you feel like really, but you just have to ask for it.
You feel like an idiot sometimes. I think I was like afraid to ask because they thought I'd be such a diva and be like, oh, can you turn me up please, like that, like in my head it sounded like, oh, can you turn me up please, like I can't hear myself. But in reality I'm just like, I can't hear myself, can you just turn me up a bit, like I think the way we think it comes across and how it actually comes across are like two completely different things.
Exactly, but then it all again comes down to confidence, which is a huge issue for so many people, including, you know, myself. So it just takes, I think, those little steps, like I said before, like you just have to break it down, I think.
Yeah, but it's really, but I think it's really good that you have like a mindset like that, because that is important to at least realize. You're like, okay, you know, these are my fears, this is something that, you know, I'm not confident in this situation or whatever, because once we realize that, we can work on it and we can like push ourselves. And I'm grateful that you did that you pushed yourself and be like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, 2020 is my year, I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna make 2020 happen for me and not to me. And I think that's how this podcast started, because I was the exact same thing. I'm like, you know what, enough is enough, and I'm gonna make it happen for me and not to me. So
absolutely, I love that. That's so great.
So
I think this year has really like given people, you know, extra time to do things that maybe they haven't, that they've been putting off. Like if the pandemic didn't happen, I would not have released this song for sure. Like it just wouldn't have I wouldn't have had time, you know. And I'm very fortunate now to be in a position where I'm working from home, so I've got, you know, mornings and evenings where I would have been commuting back and forth from work. I can now spend that time like doing music. Otherwise I just didn't have, you know, life got in the way a little bit and I didn't have time. So
yeah, that's cool that like using that time wisely and being productive.
It did take a long time though to, I think the first, you know, at the beginning of this pandemic we were all just like,
what is happening?
what is going on, just constantly watching the news. But I just kind of, I really wanted, I was very aware, I was kind of treating the extra time as a gift, you know, and I was like, when am I ever going to get all this extra time again in my life to improve certain skills or to work on things? And so it's just a case of just giving myself a bit of a push in that direction.
Wow. I just applaud you. You are awesome. Like seriously, it's like that to have that mindset. I work with a lot of people every day. I speak with a lot of people every day, and some people are just drawn to that negativity, right? They just eat up everything, like your soul, your happy, like they just suck it out of you. And it's so nice and refreshing to have people, to talk to people that are seeing the glass half full, right? You're like having the extra time, seeing it as an opportunity and taking life by the horns and be like, okay, enough is enough. Here's the line. That's it. Like,
well, you're the same, doing this, you know, starting this amazing podcast and putting yourself out there. in this way as well. Like it does, it really takes a lot of courage. People don't realize, like, to sit and talk in front of a camera and start something new, and like it takes a lot of courage. But I'm sure, like, now that you've done it, you're kind of like, oh, like, this isn't too, you know, I'm finding my feet kind of thing. But yeah, I think this year has been obviously really tough on everyone, tougher on some people, you know, more than others, definitely. But I just kind of thought, if I don't have something to focus on like this, I'm not going to be in a good place in my mind. And I've been so grateful to have music to work on, because it has kept me positive, it's kept me excited, it's, you know, like, it's there's a goal in my head and I'm working towards it every day. So I'm very grateful to have that, definitely.
Wow, thank you for music, and thank you for putting out your music. Seriously, like I've been, ever since, you know, I've been just following you and like looking, and I just want to congratulate you for being on a lot of like playlists, like All New Rock playlist, and like the Fierce Femme playlist, and New Noise playlist. Like, people are catching on, and I'm very excited for you.
It's bonkers. Like, it was genuinely, not gonna lie, like probably the best moment of my life. Like, I was more worried that the song wasn't going to go on Spotify, like, because it was my first release. I was like worried about the technicality of like, oh no, I've said to everyone that it's going on at 9 o'clock in the morning, and let me just, you know, let me check. And I was like refreshing the page, and then all of a sudden it appeared, and I scrolled down, and like I saw the playlist, and I was like, I couldn't speak. I was just like, what has happened? I didn't think that could happen for you know, an independent artist, because I've, you know, this is kind of my first foray into really doing Spotify, but I think that's so incredible for Spotify as a platform, like, to be shining a light on someone who's literally just started. You know, not started completely, I've been doing things for a long time, but like started on this project. This is my first release. I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. I don't have this big, you know, machine. But to, you know, to put me on playlists, I was just like, that's an amazing thing. And has, you know, just opened up this audience that I probably would have really struggled to get to. My initial goal in my head for this single was like, I want to get to about like 500 streams. That was like my initial goal. And I just didn't think, without Spotify, you know, doing that and putting me on these playlists, like, it's just gone like mad. Like, I'm really overwhelmed by like the amount of listens I've had, and the amount of people as well that have like reached out and said that they like it. Like, it's amazing. I'm still in like this weird place of shock. Like, I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think it was something that they did. I pitched to Spotify in the hope, you know, that somebody would listen, and obviously somebody did. And I think that's a really great thing for other artists to know. Like, I've actually had quite a few artists reach out to me, other people who are following me, and just said, how did you do that? And like, a lot of people don't realize there's like a pitching thing. Like, you can pitch to be on these playlists, but it seems like this underground thing that not many people know about, and I didn't know about it until like another artist told me about it. So it's just, it's been amazing, to say the least.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm just it's so cool to just see how, I mean, that's why I switched to Spotify. I first had like iTunes, and I just didn't like their suggestions because it was so biased towards like recording big artists. Like, no, I want fresh music. I want like people like you, where like I don't care if they're known or not known. I care about the music, right? And I don't care how many followers they have or how much money they have. I don't care. I just want fresh new music. And that's why I switched to Spotify, because I think they just really give everyone a chance. Like, anyone can literally be in their bedroom, record something, put it out there, and it can be heard.
Yeah, exactly. Like that, you know, I just kind of assumed that it would only be major artists, that nobody would listen, but there is that feature that other artists should definitely, you know, make sure that they're doing if they want to get onto playlists and things like that. But it's a really cool opportunity, and it's taken me from worrying about getting like 100 streams to, you know, a huge audience now of people. So it's very, very cool.
Wow. So you basically pitched to the playlist owner why your song should be on the playlist, or how did that like?
No, so basically you can so if you have Spotify, like if you've got music out there, there's something called Spotify for Artists, and you can go in to that website prior, like has to be before your release, has to be at least 1 week before your release, and it's basically a general pitch. So you don't pitch for certain playlists. You say, this is my song. You kind of describe it in a few different ways, and then I think there's like a little section where you can write, I think it's like up to 200 words, not very much, and you just have to talk about like your song, describe it a little bit, and then Spotify playlist editors, I think they listen to, I assume they listen to everything that comes in, and then they decide if something if something will fit on a playlist, basically. But yeah, it's something that I don't think is spoken about a lot, really.
No, I'm hearing about this the first time. Like
yeah, like I didn't know until somebody told me. It seems like one of those kind of like secrets that but it's all there. Like as long as you give yourself, I think, a week pre-release. You can't do it once something's already out there. It has to be before. But it's definitely something that if you want to get on a playlist, you should be just at least, you know, giving it a go, because you don't know unless you try.
Exactly. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Just
exactly.
ask. The worst thing they'll say is no.
Yeah. And in fact, I think you just don't hear anything. Like, do you know what I mean? If you don't, then you just assume, oh, it's fine, nothing's happened. But it's always good to throw your hat in the ring, because you know, potentially you could sit there and go, oh, like I'm never going to get on a playlist because look at the people on the playlist, they're all major artists. But actually, what's the worst that can happen? You've just got to put yourself out there in that way. So,
and overcoming the fear.
Yes. Yeah. And like that imposter syndrome, I think, is a big thing. Like feeling like, you know, I'm not, you know, who am I to be doing this kind of feeling. But I think the more you work on stuff, the more that will slowly, hopefully, go.
That's so good advice. Oh my gosh, it's so great to talk to you, Maya. This was like pleasure. Like,
oh no, it's been really fun.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I could talk about music. I mean, days. Like, I love it. That's why I made a podcast, so I can literally talk about it all the time with like other musicians. But it's. I mean, I'm just, the more I get to know you, the more, you know, through this journey, it's the more impressed I am just with just not just the song and like the production, but knowing that you made it all in your bedroom, and then how you've like overcome all these obstacles, mostly like fears, and you know, just doing it, just do it, like, and you've done it, like you just kind of pushed through it, and you're like, you know what, enough is enough, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna figure it out. If I don't know how to do it, I'm gonna go and figure it out. And hopefully people that are listening, that are seeing this video later on, they can take inspiration from that literally just anyone can go and do it. Like I'm just like, I've got so many, you know, ideas now to like, I'm gonna go and do.
Why not do it? Because, you know, literally, what is the worst that's going to happen by you trying out something that you love?
Mm.
You know, what's the worst that can happen?
Mm.
Like there isn't really anything, you know. And for me, I just wanted to put this song out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, then I've proved to myself more than anyone else that I can do something, that I have something to offer, that I can do it myself, you know. And that's such a like empowering feeling, and it just takes like stepping over that line, you know. That's kind of what the song is about, actually. Just going like, I'm finally just gonna do it. I'm gonna take that courage and do it. There's so many talented people out there, but I think a lot of the problem is just confidence. It's hard, you know. You feel like, I'm not good enough, I don't have anything to offer. But actually everyone has something to offer, and there'll be someone that likes what you're doing.
Wow.
There'll always be someone, you know, that appreciates your story, appreciates your voice, appreciates your music. And you yourself, you know, do it for yourself. Screw what anyone else thinks, do it for yourself.
Wow. I think I'm gonna end it right here, because that was just like, okay. Nothing to add here, nothing. Wow. I'm just like, yes, everyone should listen to this, to you, and I think this is a good way to end this on.
But congratulations to you for starting this as well in lockdown, in this difficult year, and you know, pursuing what you want to do and talking about music. So it's very, very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you. I think that was the hardest part for me, was like, my excuse was, oh, who would want to come on podcast that I just started? You know, who would want to, like, that was my excuse. It's like, oh, nobody wants to be on my podcast anyway, or how do I find musicians that would want to be on here? And you're right, like, if you just get over yourself and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna figure it out. And the more interviews I'm doing, the more I'm realizing how, you know, that what I thought was not the case, and that I'm actually now opening up more doors, and really appreciating the artist behind the song even more, like especially you and like other artists that I've interviewed, that, you know, I can't wait for the episodes to come out to show other artists and musicians that are kind of living in that fear, to show them like, it's possible, you can overcome it, there are different ways of doing it, and it may not look the way you thought it was, but you can definitely kind of find ways around it. And and I'm just so excited, because I never know what's gonna happen when I interview someone. And it's so far has always turned out way better than I imagined. I always have like a ton of questions on here, and I never even like, I spent like an entire day coming up with questions and doing all my research, and it always turns out way better than I thought it would. And yeah, thank you for appreciating that. It's pretty.
No, thank you for having me on this. Like, it's really nice to just spend a bit of time talking to another like music lover. You know, I could talk about music all day, and I think you seem like you're the same as well. So
Literally, my Tony, my husband, he's like, if you want her to not shut up, talk about music. He's like, I'll just go all day long.
That's awesome. I'm exactly the same. So
so thank you again for taking the time. I know it's precious. And where can people find you? Where your social media, your Spotify?
So it's Maya Lakhani, which is spelled Maya, and then Lakhani. So it's Maya Lakhani _ on Instagram and Twitter, and on Facebook it's just Maya Lakhani Music, and then on Spotify obviously it's just Maya Lakhani. So that is where you can find everything. So,
I'm gonna link everything up as well later on, so people will have no trouble finding you, because they should definitely check out The Line, which is awesome. And everyone should just listen to it and go and follow you, because you know, you're not just only a good like musician and songwriter, but you're also just, your heart is at the right place, and I appreciate people like that even more. And I can't wait to see what's in store for you, what's gonna happen next. So yeah, are there any projects that you're working on that you want to touch on?
So I am working on a follow-up single, which will be coming to you early next year. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, which is very exciting. So yeah, I can't wait to share it with the world.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear it, and hopefully you'll be able to come on here soon when that happens.
Yes,
So,
I'd love to.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, and keep going. I'm definitely a fan and supporter. So
thank you, and you as well. Like, I'm so excited to watch all of these episodes where you talk to different people. So
I'm excited for them to come out, not for me, but for other musicians, and to see, like, you know, what's possible. And it's just so amazing. The more you talk with other people and musicians, the more you notice, like, oh, I'm not the only one that has this fear or has these thoughts or whatever. And if you call it out, then it's not as, you know, frightening anymore, I think.
Yes, exactly.
So again, thank you so much, and have a good evening. And
yeah, you too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. You go, girl. I'm so excited for you.
Wow, you're smashing it.
Yeah.
I love this idea for a podcast. It's great.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Bye.
All right. Take care.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, I would appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this that are about songwriting, then hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, but only if you want to learn more. If not, then that's fine too. If you want to get into songwriting, want to learn how to write songs, then click the link below for musicians' secrets, and you can learn everything you need to know in the link below. Bye!